Hello. Yep, it is David and Diane. We're back.
Hi.
This is the second video, and it's to promote David's website, which is
Halfpennyman.com.
yeah, brilliant. So, so it was just a very brief video, the last one, but we just felt that you need to know a little bit more about the elusive Halfpenny Man. So I'm David's wife. I did introduce myself last time, but I'd say we just go over a little bit of what we covered on our first video, but not in detail because we have much more to cover. There's quite a bit to fill you in on in regards to progress and David's websites and what he's up to, really. So, David, do you want to
thanks,
follow on from that?
Yeah, I mean, what we are doing this video, this is saying it's an experience for us. We want it to be an experience for you. There's a few things that I want to get out of doing these videos. Obviously, to promote my books and my website, or through my website, halfpennyman.com, and the books that I've recently written since I retired just over a year ago, and of course we've moved now, as I explained in the last video, we've moved now to Australia, where that was our plan to retire here, so come somewhere nice, so to speak. Now, the book that I'm promoting first, the Forgotten Children, and obviously, like I say, I've explained where it came from out of 3 dreams I had, and what the book is about. It's a fictional story, but it's about a young child that has been bought and sold in this world, and I say, I tried to explain last time about my, that I have a degree of naivety, obviously, where I didn't think that kids were being bought and sold these days in this very modern world. I just thought we'd, gone past that sort of thing, but maybe not. The other thing that I wanted to express was that, of course, I've got other books. And the one that I want to talk about later in this video is the Whatever Next, which is 5 comic stories that are for children. But I mean, when I say for children, I mean, I'm not looking at babies. I'm a ex-high school teacher, so I'm writing for teenagers. So anybody, 11 over, teenagers, young adults, and then adults themselves. I don't use explicits in the text, so that's why they're suitable for children. And yet they are immensely sort of, I would think, hilarious, rude, funny. That's the idea of a funny book, isn't it? It's meant to be comedy, meant to be something that you can laugh at, and hopefully you do. Now, Diane here is, I mean, do you think that going and look at our move, talking now about our move here, do you reckon this has been what we expected to a move to Australia?
It is. I'd say we moved here in later life. So just for you viewers that may ever contemplate coming to Australia later on in life, or
even younger.
Yeah, or even younger. Yeah, exactly. There are things that are different culturally, not massively, but there are things to get used to. And I say I was born in Australia. I am an Australian citizen, and I intended to come to Australia a long time ago. Me and David, many years ago, but it just didn't happen. And we've got a 16-year-old boy, so there was times, where we thought we'd move, but then things hold you back. Life happens, and it doesn't happen. But the only difference, I would say, is, as you're, getting older and you move to Australia, is that probably your career prospects are, you know, um, more limited, depending on what career you have. Obviously, I'm an occupational therapist, and there are a set of regulations that you have to go through. Which, when you're younger, you're more resilient, and you've got the time for that, and you might take on some manual work, which great. But as I say, for ourselves, it's a bit of yeah, a bit of a culture shock. But we're just finding our way, and that's why we're doing these new things. So we've made a big move, and we've decided to change our lifestyles as well. So if you want to change your lifestyle, then yeah, that's a really good thing to do. And we're changing the things that we're doing, as well, our professions. So David is, like I say, he's looking to become an established author. He's already on the way. He's got, quite a few followers, which he's creating by advertising, regular advertising. But that's a completely different story, because that's going into how that's done. Now, that might be another video that we'll bring out at some stage, because that will be very interesting for anybody starting out. But for now, we're promoting David's books, and David's promoting mainly The Forgotten Children. There are other books as well, but The Forgotten Children especially because of the present. We had a pandemic, but this is an epidemic, I would say. It's what would you say, David? Because I'm struggling for words to explain exactly how bad it is out there.
It is. It's the world has changed. Things have changed within the world, and I suppose in sort of that feeling is that any generation. We've got children, we've got grandchildren, and we always presume that things would get better for them. Each generation, things get better. That's what we were told when we were kids by our parents and grandparents. And for the first time, it doesn't seem to be that way. And that's come as a bit of a shock. It's come as a bit of a shock that, our children, they've all finding it very difficult to buy a house. And yet, of course, we come from a generation where house buying was something that you did as soon as you were 18 or 19 years old. And the houses were, my first house was £12,000. That's how things have just changed and gone. And, you can understand why people can't get on ladders anymore, property ladders, because things are so expensive. So things have changed, but I don't want to I don't want to get into any sort of politics. That's not where I'm coming from. I'm talking about sort of how we should all care more. And there's a lot of people out there that care a lot. I know, I've met them, met a few that really do care about the world and where we're going. But we need to have more of us. There's a lot of us that just sit back, and I've been a sitter backer myself. I've come home from work and I've got in my armchair, and that's where I've stayed until somebody said it's bedtime now, then you go to bed. But we can't be like that anymore. We can't let these things that are happening in the world, like, the buying and selling of children, as I've said to you from watching the Sound of Freedom and then writing this book, The Forgotten Children. We can't have that. We cannot sit as a society, as people, decent people. And then, as I said, most of us are decent people. In fact, 95% of us are decent people. You can't have then this happening. It's just not, it's not where we are.
It's almost. I think people are in shock that anybody that watches, we've mentioned it a few times now, The Sound of Freedom. It's a wake-up call for the nation, and for the world, actually, because you know you can't emphasize it enough that
No,
it's
no,
almost like, you know, not getting too political, but with um, Israel and Palestine, and how quickly things erupt and become, you know, out of control,
yeah,
and the world is in shock about the barbaric acts, and yet child trafficking is amongst that
yeah.
level
But
of
it is in our opinion. It is.
it
It's
is
just, it
it
is.
is in it is like, yeah, David, as you said,
Yeah,
it is in our opinion,
yeah. It's
but
as shocking as war.
yeah,
It should not be happening.
yeah,
You know.
yeah, it's as shocking
It
as well,
is.
because the it's the innocents, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's the innocent that
yeah,
are harmed and
yeah,
suffer the
yeah,
consequences of war,
yeah.
and so on. Yeah.
But
Sorry, David, carry on.
I mean, the thing about writing, about doing this now, there's a few things that I want to sort of air out there that you might be familiar with, and I'm certainly learning. I've got a huge learning curve here, and that is you're supposed to advertise through things like Facebook, Instagram. There's many others, but there's two that I'm particularly using, and you get this sort of thing where people say to me, you know, they said to me, "Oh, David, what you need to do is you need to network." What does that mean? Well, it means that you've got to put your advertisements on something like Facebook, and then ask people to like and share your advert that you put on. Say an advert for a book, so you're showing them a book cover, and you're saying, this book is for sale through Amazon. That's where I sell my things. And then basically, then you'll get people to think, and then when they reply to you, or they give you a like, a thumbs up, or they share, then you've got to sort of respond to them and say thank you very much for liking and sharing, blah blah blah, and then that way you'll grow your network. And believe me, for somebody that's done no Facebook, no Instagram, it's all very very daunting. But it's something that, of course, I've got to do, and I'm quite willing to do it because that's the way that you do this networking, and then you get known, and then of course your books then will sell.
Yeah, that is a totally other, that's another subject, and we can't go into too much detail, but we're just giving you a few tasters there, or
Oh
spoilers
yeah.
as they call them. So now we need to just move on to your books, David, and
Right. Yeah. Well, the second book that I've published, and I'd like you introduced to, is called Whatever Next. Now, I've called it that because it was an old saying, "Oh, whatever next," and there's 5 comedy stories in this particular book. And now, obviously, as I said to you just a minute ago, I've aimed it at children because, I used to be a high school teacher. They like a good laugh. Well, we all need a good laugh. But I found that writing comedy stories, you use your imagination a lot more than you do in the fiction. Don't forget, The Forgotten Children was a fictional thing that I got from dreams, and I thought about what I should write, how I should interpret the dreams, and put them into this book as best as I could, and elaborate on it, obviously. Um, but the comedy is quite a pleasure. I've always enjoyed comedy. There seems to be a lack of it at the moment in Britain, and well, anywhere, I suppose. But the stories were, or are, there is 5 stories in it. The first one is called Smasher Smith. Now, Smasher Smith is an elderly man, and he got that nickname, that handle, Smasher Smith, by being in the army. So I'm looking back, many years and years ago. He's an elderly gentleman now, so many years ago. And he was an amateur boxer, and that's what he used to fight under, Smasher Smith. And he's quite proud of it. But he's also very dated. He's a bit like me, I'm a bit dated. And he's very dated, is Smasher Smith. And but he's got a lot of comedy. There's a lot of comedy in that simple story of how he gets around his town and how he interacts with people. He's hard of hearing. That helps with comedy, by the way. I don't mean that in a nasty way, but it helps with comedy in this particular case. The next one was uh, is a lad called Freddie. Now, Freddie could have actually been very similar to me. Now, what happens to Freddie is his grandparents decide that what they're going to do with him is when he goes over to see them at a weekend, they're going to give him food that they had in the war years. So I'm talking about the Second World War and the sort of food that they had. Now, my grandparents did the same to me. And so hence where Freddie, I got the ideas from. And I was introduced to things like tripe and hodge and chitlins and brawn. And I felt they sounded absolutely disgusting. And I believe that they were fairly disgusting as well. But, you know, excuse me, we're not, I mean, when you're brought up and you've got these lovely grandparents, my grandparents are lovely grandparents, and you don't feel like saying, I'm not eating that rubbish, you must be joking. So you go along with it, and you realise that, they cover stuff with nice thick onion gravy. They cover stuff with, you know, mushy peas, so that it takes away, because I mean they most probably didn't like him either at the time. This was just a bit of reminiscing. So that's Freddie, and that's the second story. The third and the fifth story are about Derek. Derek is basically very funny. I don't want to give too much away about Derek, but he's got two stories in there, number 3 and number 5. And to me, I wrote them and they were hilarious. I was falling around laughing at my own stuff. So I'm hoping they might be good.
And your 16-year-old, our 16-year-old son, has also he's read the books, vetted them a bit, had a look at them, and even for a 16-year-old, it's been, touched his level of sense of humour. It's pretty across the board. I think if
Yeah.
anybody doesn't laugh at your books, David, at that one particular one, you really just,
Oh, yes.
you have
Yeah.
not got a sense of humour.
No.
There is no way you cannot laugh at the things and the things
Yeah.
that
The Derek
the
does
characters gets in.
Yeah,
into.
Derek and his friends.
Yeah.
And
It's nice to have
yeah, it
something,
is.
isn't it, to laugh at
It
for
is.
change? It's
Oh, it
good to
is.
have a good, what we call a good belly laugh.
Yeah. I mean,
How often does that happen? And probably not very often. We're in a
No.
very serious world at the moment, so
Yeah. Let's have a bit of humour.
let's have a bit of
Yeah,
humour.
that's it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We need a good laugh, don't we?
And so they're very funny. That's all I'll say to you. Now, the other thing I'd like to say is I was going to make a comment about where I got the word or the name Halfpennyman. Now, obviously, my name is David Wiggins, and that is who I am. But many, many years ago, like I say, seeing these lovely grandparents of mine, my granddad was a very strict man. I mean, you're looking at people that were born in the Victorian era, my grandparents. And so he didn't suffer fools easily, which is a bit of a shame, really. Otherwise, we would have got on famously well. But no, he was, to be serious, he was a very nice man, and my grandma, a lovely lady. But Grandad didn't like the way that I was always reading books. I've always been very keen on books. It's no reason, or it's not a secret why I'm trying to write now, because I've spent a lot of my life reading, and especially when I was young. And the sort of books that we had then, the sort of Swallows and Amazons, and my particular favourite was Mark Twain, and Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. I mean, great adventure books, absolutely, marvelous. And there's many others that I enjoyed, and I'll come on to them in other videos. But I'd always sort of got my head in a book, and Grandad really thought that, don't you go out, David? No, read a book. What about, going to play football? No, play at a good school, but I'm reading a book. What about going fishing? Don't really see the point in drowning maggots, like, you know. And I can read it in a book. And of course, it got to a stage where Grandad used to, he got quite sort of thingy with me, and he said, David, you really want to get out of this thing of reading books and get something that's, you know, is not only more sort of active, but is basically, you know, could help you with your future employment and your future socializing. You won't get very far by just reading books. And in fact, to be truthful, you know, David, he said to me, you'll have very little expectation in life by just reading books. And in fact, I mean, you're going to find it difficult to get a job, to socialize with people, if you just got a head in a book all the time, David. You really want to give it up. Are you listening to me? You know, you've got to give this up. And they had a saying back in there, that if you don't, you won't even have 2 halfpennies to rub together. Halfpenny. You'd be a halfpenny man. You won't even have 1 halfpenny. And that's where that just came from. I thought to myself, you know, even though years and years now, you know, I'm almost at my granddad's age now, you know, I mean, well, I'm a granddad myself. And of course, it's always resonated with me that I would be nothing more than a halfpenny man. Well, that's what I am, aren't I? You know, to think about it, I am just that halfpenny man. I've always got my head in a book. Always got my head in a book. And, you know, I like promoting books. I'm hoping that I can promote books through this. Now, adult readers, yes, but children readers, you know, showing this to younger people, that's where you get a fervent imagination from. It's out of books. That's how you spread your imagination, is by reading books. Helps you with your language by reading books. Helps you with your vocabulary by reading books. It is just all there. I know this is easy. An old teacher is speaking, but you know, it's true. It is really true.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we do watch the time because we could go on and on and on, and we know that many people can just about spare 15 minutes actually for any video. That's what we're told anyway.
That's what we're told. It sounds good enough to us.
So what we'll do maybe on our next videos, these are all the things, that ideas that we're coming up with, is read you, David, if you would read some excerpts from your books and things like that, just to give you some taster, taster days or something like that.
That would be good.
Yeah,
I'd enjoy that.
I'm sure you'd enjoy that. That is something to look forward to. Yeah. So, anything else, David?
No. Thank you very much. And like I say, I thank for anybody that, you know, has looked on my website, halfpennyman.com. And like I say, if you're interested in buying any books, believe me, you know, there is 4 there to choose from that would make excellent Christmas presents.
Oh, yeah.
So at this time of the year, you know, I'd like to promote that. I'd like to say thank you very much for listening and watching us, from me and Diane.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll see you again later on in the week.
Yes, I'll be buying my copies and sending them off to my children too, because see, we have an extended family in the UK, and that's one of the things that'll be in their stockings. So a little extra gift from the family in Australia. Anyway, really nice talking to you.
Yeah, it's very nice.
And we'll
hope to see you soon.
Talk to you again. Yeah, be wonderful. Okay, God bless you. Keep safe, and look forward to speaking to you again. Me and David, we love doing these videos, and we shall be seeing you soon. Bye now.
Bye.